Oh, I didn't see you there. Don't know why, but I watched Velma. Good God, it's awful. Let's get into it. Now, first, I'd like to address, there's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, I can't believe HBO put this out. HBO usually has such good quality control. HBO. To their credit, it's a Max original. It says Max original, so I'm assuming this is in the same leagues as like Coed Confidential or other things I've never seen. Now, I am a big Scooby-Doo fan. I grew up watching it. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, I think, is one of the best movies ever. It's one of the best kids movies. It's so fun. I still watch it to this day. The soundtrack's phenomenal. I love it. So I grew up with Scooby-Doo. So you kind of know what I'm talking about here, okay? Now, this show is like, if they took the characters that aren't Scooby-Doo and just made them all awful people. You know, with the casting of Glenn Howerton, who I love. I love Glenn Howerton. I was excited to see him as Fred, and I'm actually really upset at how much of a waste this is of him as Fred, because he's kind of perfect. But with him being cast as Fred, I can't help but think that they're kind of going for an Always Sunny type thing, or like, you know, one of those things where, oh, all the characters are bad people, but the problem is you need good writers and you need comedy to do that. So this show is supposed to be an origin story of Velma. You don't really make origin stories for normal people. That doesn't make any sense to me. How you just make an origin story for how I became a teenager? What? Now, I'll give this show some credit, okay? I'll look for the good things about it, and I found something, okay? So the original show is called Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? This show, we don't know where Scooby-Doo is. So we're forced to ask Scooby-Doo, where are you? So that makes this show the most canonically accurate depiction of Scooby-Doo in my book. I know that there's a lot of talk about all the changing of the races and the casting and whatever. I mean, the show sucks, so it doesn't matter. You know, like, inclusion doesn't work if it's not in something good. Like, write a good story. It doesn't help anybody if it's something awful. So Mindy Kaling is just god-awful as Velma. It just sounds like Mindy Kaling the whole time. Glenn Howerton would be so good as Fred, or like the character that they're trying to make Fred into, but the writing just can't keep up. And it's sad because he's very talented. Now, one strange thing is the guy playing Norville sounds just like Fred. Like old Fred. Like, there's a lot of times where he'd say something and I'd be like, is that Fred? Like, it's weird how much he sounds like Fred. And that's not even like because it's a Scooby-Doo property. I would just think that he's Fred by hearing him. Now, this dude, Norville, which someone told me is apparently Shaggy's real name, but I would never want to know Shaggy's real name, so I'm kind of upset by it. But the toxicity of the relationship between him and Velma is so bad. There's one point where she walks in and he goes, Velma, you know, I think for my mental health we should probably not, and she goes, shut up, not now, I need you. My guy, that ain't right. Velma honestly is just a bad person, and she just ruins everything. Like, every scenario, somehow she just shows up and ruins it in ways that you can tell they think are going to be funny, but they're not. Bro, like, what was the thing in the hospital where it's like she opens the door and like slams someone to, I remember. There's a girl who got butt implants put back in. Super funny, right? And she gets hit by the door and is worried that they'll come out, but they don't. She goes, phew, thank goodness they didn't come out. And then Velma slams the door open and does it. Like, it's not funny to make Velma the worst. The worst is not funny because they're not making fun of her. She's the main character. And another thing I noticed in like the last couple episodes, because those came out at the time of making this, Velma is a nerd. Her whole thing is being a nerd and being unpopular, being into super nerdy shit. So tell me why, when there's a whole episode based around keeping her mom happy for 72 hours, I know. crazy plot, right? One of the lies that she tells is that, yes, she's valedictorian. This is Velma, dude. Velma should be valedictorian. You're getting everything wrong. There are no character traits. There's no consistency in the same episode. Things contradict themselves every few minutes. And then they keep trying to like shoehorn in like making fun of white guys, like and privilege and all that. And it's like, we get it, dude. You don't have to make every single plot point having to do with white people. It's not entertaining to anybody. If it were funny, that's one thing, but it's not. This show is made for nobody. It's not funny to Scooby-Doo fans. It's not funny to cartoon fans. It's not funny to anybody. It's not funny to teenagers. It's not funny to adults. It's not funny to minorities. It's not funny to majorities. It's not funny to anybody. And then it tries to be like smart. Like there's an episode where it's like, ooh, flashback. And then look how meta we are talking about flashbacks and how they should work within the flashback episode. But it's like, it is so stupid because the story still happens in a straight line. It's just like, and now this is their flashback. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just when they walked into the room. It doesn't change anything. It's not even from different perspectives where things are different. Like, it is so unclever that it can't even think of a way to like make that interesting, to like have different flashbacks be a little different. No, it's just one story because it's awful. And then they try to have like twists and stuff. But you know, I don't care if you don't believe me, but literally, spoilers, but literally, I think it's the first or second episode when Fred gets arrested and like the mom hides the dogs or whatever. I said, she's the killer. I know it. And then guess what the twist is? She's the killer. What the hell? How did I accidentally guess it? You can't act like you're smart and then have me accidentally guessing the twist. What is this, M. Night Shyamalan? And then the whole show is more about the parents than about the kids. Like Daphne's parents, what the hell? That doesn't add anything. It doesn't add to Velma's origin story, which is what the show's about. It's just there and it's gone in like an episode. It's so pointless. And then Velma's mom is annoying. She keeps like saying that the dad cheated on her with the waitress that he was like flirting with. And it's like, okay, she was gone for 2 years. She's presumed dead or gone. She's left or dead. So for 2 years, is he just supposed to wait around? No, he legitimately tells her that he fell in love with someone and they're now together. And she's like, you cheated on me. So then, you know, everybody in the show's in love with Velma for whatever reason. Fred reads a book that changes his wiring that is just so unbelievably absurd. Like that bothered me because at least like it was kind of fun having like Glenn Howerton be kind of Dennis-y, but you took that away too. We couldn't even have that. And so then, you know, with everybody falling in love with Velma, she finally decides on Norville because she listens to a voicemail. What? And then he shows up and like blocks a bullet from Fred's mom, and the bullet hits a rock and the rock falls and kills Fred's mom. And Fred's all mad, saying that he like murdered his mom. What? And so because of that becomes a detective. It just shows him now driving the van around and like going to graves and being a mystery solver. And speaking of detectives, Velma is an awful detective. This whole show is supposed to be about her, you know, figuring things out, and hallucinations tell her the answers. It's the same as Wednesday. Like she doesn't figure anything out on her own. She's just sitting there staring at a board going, huh. And then there's this whole like the hallucination thing that makes it difficult for her to figure things out, which makes no sense at all. Like Are you that bad at writing that you're like, shoot, how do we make it harder for her to figure out the answers? So yeah, the show ends. Thank God. We can all, be happy now. But I will say, theme song was kind of sick.